Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are looking at a moment our sources are describing in really stark historic terms. They're calling it a threshold of change in Iran.
Exactly. And that phrase, great transformations, keeps coming up. This isn't just about unrest. The sources are framing this as a potential pivot point for the entire country.
A huge one.
One report puts it as a move toward the return of a national government and the realization of Iranians' historical destiny. So the stakes are, incredibly high.
And that sets up our mission for this deep dive perfectly. We're going to focus on the massive protests that erupted across Iran because our sources connect them directly to Prince Reza Pahlavi's first general and national call for action.
A direct response.
A direct response.
Yeah.
So we need to unpack what the sources say about the scale, the core demands, and the strategic leadership that's apparently guiding this whole thing.
Right. And for you listening, it's important to understand the mechanism here. The sources aren't saying this came from nowhere. The frustration was already there, but they suggest the prince's call was the catalyst. It focused all that energy into a revolutionary movement.
Okay, let's get into that mobilization because the scale is the first thing that just leaps out. The sources are specific. By the 11th day of protests, right after that call went out, the action on the streets was the most extensive and unprecedented in the last 47 years.
47 years. It's an incredible figure. That's nearly 5 decades of history being, potentially overturned in a single wave.
And this isn't just one city. The reports are clear that this is a truly national movement.
Yeah.
Continuous, moving forward.
Yes, and not just in the capital. The sources confirm participation from the market in Rasht. That's a major hub in the north.
Right.
Then you have various areas of Karaj, huge parts of Tehran itself. It's everywhere.
And when you see the markets, the traditional economic heart of a city joining in, that says a lot. It tells you this cuts across different classes.
It absolutely does. And the unity is in the slogans, too. The sources point to the city of Kedar, for example. The chant there was, and this is a direct quote, "Neither Gaza nor Lebanon, my life for Iran."
That is just, it's so politically charged. That's a direct rejection of the regime's entire foreign policy doctrine.
It is. For decades, they've justified so much by pointing to these foreign proxies. And here you have the people on the street saying, no, our priority is Iran. It completely redefines their national focus from the ground up.
It strips away that ideological cover. Now, let's contrast that popular energy with how the regime is reacting. The sources use words like obvious confusion and concern.
Well, you can see it in their actions. There are reports of the police commander and the head of the judiciary going on camera to issue these open threats.
Trying to scare people back into their home.
Exactly. But the analysis in the source material suggests it completely backfired. Instead of looking strong, it just exposed how anxious they are.
It showed their fear of losing control.
Precisest. When you have to wheel out your top security chiefs to threaten your own population on TV, it signals that your usual methods just aren't working anymore.
And that desperation, that fear, wasn't lost on Prince Reza Pahlavi. The sources describe his response as being one of immense pride.
Yeah, he said this national solidarity proves that the power of the people is a force that nothing can stand against. And that really leads us to the absolute core of this movement.
The ultimate demand.
The ultimate demand. It's what makes this so different.
Right, because a lot of revolutions, they start with vague goals, end corruption or something economic. But here, the sources say the end game is crystal clear.
It is. The defining feature of this whole uprising, according to the reporting, is the unified demand for the return of the Pahlavi dynasty.
And the slogans reflect that.
Word for word. In huge crowds in Tehran, we're talking major thoroughfares, like Mogadis Ardebili Street, Firdows Boulevard. The main chant was, Pahlavi is coming back. Not ambiguous at all.
There was even that incredible story from Ekbatan.
Oh, yes. The security forces tried to drown out the protesters by blasting the current regime leader's voice from loudspeakers.
And the response?
The people just started chanting louder, Javid Shah, long live the king.
Just incredible defiance.
And it's national. In Tabriz, in the Azeri-speaking region, you hear Yashasin Pahlavi.
Which is long live Pahlavi in Azeri.
Exactly. So the message is consistent. From north to south, across different ethnic groups, this is a unified political demand.
So the takeaway from the sources is that people have found this belief, this conviction that they can actually overthrow the regime and reclaim Iran. And that conviction is rooted in the prince's leadership.
And you have to understand, for you listening, just how historically unique this is. We have a dynasty that was removed by a popular revolution.
In 1979, yeah.
Now being called back to the country by another popular revolution. That kind of historical reversal is, it's almost unheard of in modern history.
It's the ultimate irony. And the sources attribute this to, 46, 47 years of persistence from the prince? He's managed to take the old revolutionary slogan,
Death to the Shah,
and turn it into Javid Shah, even with, as the sources note, intense media opposition, much like his father faced.
That's right. That generational shift from death to long live shows you everything about the political currents that have been building under the surface for decades.
Okay, let's talk about strategy and what the sources call transparency. The prince has apparently been very clear in his messaging, debunking any counterclaims.
Yes, he made a point to say that when the regime's forces retreat, it's not because they're afraid of the protesters' power in an abstract sense. It's a numbers game. It's based on the increase in population, the sheer volume of people on the street.
Volume is the weapon.
Volume is the weapon. And leveraging that volume is what allowed him to make this huge strategic shift in his second call to action.
Right. This is where it goes from just protesting to something more.
Exactly. The mission is no longer simply coming to the street. The new directive is preparation for seizing the city centers and holding them.
That is a massive escalation. You're moving from symbolic protest to a direct operational challenge to the state's control of territory. How are they supposed to do that?
The instructions reported in the sources were very specific. Move towards the central squares, merge the smaller groups, create a critical mass that's too big to be suppressed easily.
And
then the most important part, prepare the necessary provisions to stay. The message was that staying in the streets is the key to the system's downfall and the people's victory.
So it's an occupation strategy. Apply constant crippling pressure. But that's only one part of it. The sources also mention a major economic component.
Yes, a two-pronged attack on the regime's finances. First, a call for a nationwide strike, an intisab sarasari, with the explicit goal of drying up the regime's revenue.
And the second part was more targeted.
Much more. It focused on the absolute lifelines of the state's economy.
Oil and gas.
Oil, gas, energy, and transportation, specifically the truckers. If you can stop the oil money from flowing, you starve the suppression machine. And if you stop the truckers, you paralyze the entire domestic economy.
It's a strategy designed to make the country simply ungovernable.
Precisely. And while calling for that, he also sent a direct message to the security forces themselves.
The people who would be ordered to crush these protests.
Yes, and it was framed very carefully, with respect. He appealed to the army, the Artesh, to act as a protective shield for their fellow Iranians. He argued their uniform says Army of Iran, not the Islamic Republic.
He's appealing to their nationalism over their duty to the regime.
A classic and often effective tactic. He also had a message for the youth inside the security forces, including the Immortal Guard. He urged them to slow down and disrupt the suppression machine from the inside.
Sabotage it from within.
So that on the final day, it can't function.
When you put all this together, the scale, the clear demand, the detailed strategy, it all circles back to this powerful message of tangible hope that the sources describe.
And they reinforce that hope by detailing the prince's own commitment. He's not just directing from afar. The reports say he is preparing for the necessary arrangements to return to Iran at the earliest possible opportunity for the final battle.
So he's planning to be on the ground.
That's the message. And the planning isn't just about showing up. The sources mention detailed 100-day plans for a transition.
To do what?
To manage the immediate chaos. They focus on economic stability, tackling inflation, and negotiating the immediate lifting of sanctions to get the economy moving again. It's about preventing a collapse after the regime falls.
This all really reinforces the national character of this movement. It's not just one class or one region. And the sources say the key ingredient, the thing that changed everything, was the disappearance of fear.
That's it. People have found courage and bravery from one another, and that shared courage makes the message of unity so powerful.
A unity that the prince's message, according to the sources, emphasizes is for everyone: Kurd, Baluch, Azeri.
Everyone. Iran belongs to the whole nation. That's the core of it. A unified revolution to reclaim the country's future.
So, for you, our listener, think about this for a moment. We have a dynasty overthrown by one revolution, now reportedly being called back by another. Given the clear, strategic plans we've just discussed, what precedent does this set for other pro-democracy movements led from exile around the world? It's something to really consider.
Yeah.
But the sources we've looked at today, they end on a powerful and very certain note of success. The message is clear. The day of victory is very near. The strategy is there. The demand is unified. The momentum, according to these reports, is unstoppable. The world is watching, Javid Shah. The victory belongs to the people.